You know the drill, right? You decide this is the time. You start a new diet, you're disciplined, you cut the calories, you hit the gym, and it works for a little while. But then, inevitably, the weight comes roaring back, and sometimes it brings a few extra pounds with it. It is one of the most frustrating experiences a person can go through, and it all leads to this massive, counterintuitive question. How is it possible that eating less can actually, in the long run, make you fatter? Well, today we're going to crack that case wide open. We're diving deep into the starvation paradox. Look at this number. Some studies show that a staggering 95% of diets fail to keep the weight off long term. For decades, the simple and, let's be honest, kind of judgmental answer was a lack of willpower. But what if that's completely wrong? What if this isn't a story about personal failure at all? This is a story about a fundamental misunderstanding of human biology. We're going to investigate why your body, this incredible survival machine, fights back so fiercely against weight loss.
Before we jump in, don't forget to like, share, and subscribe. And check out the links in the description if you're looking for a real estate agent in your market or you need life insurance. My team and I can help you anywhere nationwide.
All right, here's our game plan. First, we'll expose the great diet deception. Then, we'll uncover your body's ancient defense system. After that, we'll sneak into the command center of hunger and meet the hormonal masterminds. We'll identify the hidden saboteurs working against you, look at the cold, hard evidence for weight regain, and finally, we'll figure out how to move beyond the simple calorie count.
Okay, let's get right into it. Section 1, the Great Diet Deception. We're starting by taking on the one idea that has been the foundation of dieting for half a century, the simple, logical, and deeply, deeply flawed myth of calories in versus calories out.
You see, this is where it all goes wrong. We've been taught to think about our body like it's a simple calculator, or maybe a furnace. You put less fuel in, you burn more off, and the reserves go down. Simple math. But your body is not a calculator. It is a brilliant, adaptive survival machine that has been fine-tuned by millions of years of evolution to do one thing better than anything else: survive famine. So when you suddenly slash your calorie intake, your biology doesn't get the memo that you're trying to get ready for beach season. No, it receives a panic signal, a 4-alarm fire that says the food has run out, a famine has begun. And it doesn't just sit back and let you burn through its precious energy stores. It adapts, it fights back. It launches a powerful, multi-pronged defense to protect itself.
And that defense is what we're digging into right now in Section 2, your body's ancient defense. Let's uncover the primal survival instincts your body uses the second it thinks it's starving.
So the first weapon your body deploys is something called adaptive thermogenesis. And this is just fascinating stuff. When you cut calories, your body thinks a famine is here. So it does the smartest thing it possibly can to conserve fuel. It becomes more efficient. It's like a smart thermostat in your house, turning down the heat to save energy. Your resting metabolic rate, that's the energy you burn just to stay alive, for your heart, your brain, your breathing, it starts to drop. And here's the key. It drops way more than scientists would expect just from you weighing less. Your body is actively, deliberately entering a low-power mode to stretch its fuel reserves for as long as possible. And get this metabolic slowdown isn't just a temporary thing that happens while you're dieting. This quote from an academic study is a bombshell. It shows that your metabolism can stay suppressed, stay in that low power mode for up to a year or even longer after you've stopped dieting. Just think about what that means. You go back to eating what you consider a normal amount of food, but your body's engine is still running at half speed. This creates the absolute perfect storm for regaining weight and fast. The same number of calories that used to maintain your weight is now a huge surplus for your new super efficient metabolism, and every bit of that surplus gets packed away as fat.
Now, let's add another layer to this defense strategy, the set point theory. The best way to think about this is like your body has a weight thermostat. Your biology, based on your genes and your history, has a certain weight range that it considers safe and normal, and it will defend that range with everything it's got. When you diet and your weight drops below that set point, the alarms go off. Your body fires up a coordinated defense. It slows your metabolism, like we just saw, but it also cranks up your appetite, making you obsessed with food. It can even make you feel tired and sluggish, so you're less likely to move around and burn energy. It is using every weapon in its arsenal to push you back up into that defended weight range. But here is where the story gets really twisted. That set point, that thermostat setting, it's not permanent. It can actually be reprogrammed in the wrong direction. Every time you go through that cycle of losing weight and then regaining it, yo-yo dieting, you risk pushing that set point higher. Your body fights so hard to regain the weight that it overshoots, and then it resets, defending that new, heavier weight as its new normal.
This is how the very act of dieting, over and over, can slowly ratchet your defended body weight higher and higher, making it harder and harder to lose weight each time you try.
So we've seen how the body slows down its engine, but that's only half the story. Now we're going inside the command center to meet the real masterminds pulling the strings, your hormones. This is where the battle for your appetite is truly decided. What you're looking at here is the hormonal double whammy that your body unleashes when you're on a diet. You've got two main players. Ghrelin is the hunger hormone. It's made in your stomach and it shouts, "Go eat," up to your brain. Then there's leptin, the fullness hormone. It's released by your fat cells and it sends a calm message to your brain that says, "Hey, we're good on energy, you can stop eating now." So what happens when you cut calories and lose fat? The whole system gets turned upside down. Your ghrelin levels surge, making you feel a deep, primal hunger you've never felt before. And at the exact same time, because you have less body fat, your leptin levels plummet. The stop eating signal becomes a tiny whisper. So you're being biologically driven to feel more hungry and less full. It's a brutal combination.
And look, this isn't just a nice theory. This is backed up by hard science. The DIRECT trial, a really important study on diabetes remission, found that the single biggest predictor of who would regain weight was how much their ghrelin levels spiked after they lost it. It's a direct, measurable cause and effect. Your body isn't just asking you to eat a little more. It's launching a full-scale hormonal assault to force you to refuel its energy stores. This isn't a failure of your character. It's a success of your biology.
And there's another incredible piece to this hunger puzzle: the protein leverage hypothesis. This idea suggests that our bodies have a very specific and powerful appetite just for protein. It's separate from our appetite for general calories. Your brain needs a certain amount of protein every day to repair tissues, and it will not take no for an answer. So if your diet is low in protein but high in easily available carbs and fats, your brain will keep the general hunger signals blasting until you hit that protein target. This can lead you to overeat hundreds of extra calories from carbs and fats in a subconscious, desperate search for that missing protein. It's a perfect example of how trying to eat less of the wrong things can make you eat way more overall.
We're at about the halfway point here, and it's a good time to pause. Before we move on, don't forget to like, share, and subscribe. And check out the links in the description if you're looking for a real estate agent in your market or you need life insurance. My team and I can help you anywhere nationwide.
All right, we've covered the big guns, the metabolic slowdown, and the hormonal hunger signals. But there are other, sneakier forces at work in the background, undermining your best efforts. Let's unmask these hidden saboteurs. So here's our lineup of suspects. We're going to look at 4 of them. First, the stress hormone, cortisol. Then, the master storage hormone, insulin. We'll also investigate our own genetic code, the thrifty genes. And finally, we'll look at the body's internal clock, our circadian rhythms. Each one of these plays a critical role in the starvation paradox.
Let's start with cortisol. We tend to think of stress as something that's just in our heads, but it has very real, very physical consequences. The very act of dieting, constantly fighting off hunger, being hypervigilant about food choices, is a huge stressor on your body. Add that to all the normal stresses of life, and you end up with chronically high levels of the hormone cortisol. And what is cortisol's job? It's a survival hormone that tells your body to store energy, as fat, and it has a nasty habit of storing that fat right around your abdomen. So the stress of the diet itself can trigger a hormonal response that directly causes the exact kind of fat storage you're trying to get rid of.
Next up, insulin. The carbohydrate insulin model argues that it's not just about how many calories you eat, it's the kind of calories you eat. When you eat highly processed carbs, think sugary drinks, white bread, pastries, they cause a huge spike in the hormone insulin. Insulin's job is to get sugar out of your blood, and it does that by cramming that energy into your cells, especially your fat cells. But it can work too well, causing your blood sugar to crash. Your brain senses this energy crisis and immediately triggers hunger and intense cravings to get your blood sugar back up. It's a vicious cycle. Eating 500 calories of junk can literally make you hungrier an hour later than if you'd eaten nothing at all.
Now we have to look in the mirror at our own DNA. The thrifty gene hypothesis is a really powerful idea. It basically says that for most of human history, our ancestors lived in a world where starvation was a constant threat. The people who survived and passed on their genes were the ones whose bodies were incredibly good at storing fat whenever food was available. Those genes were thrifty, a brilliant survival advantage back then. But today, in a world where food is everywhere, all the time, that amazing survival trait has become a major liability. It means some of us are genetically wired to be world-class fat stores, especially after our body thinks it has just survived a famine, like a diet. And finally, there's the saboteur of time itself. There's this new field of science called chrononutrition, and it's showing us that when you eat can be just as important as what you eat. Your body operates on a 24-hour internal clock, a circadian rhythm. This clock prepares your body to do certain things at certain times. You're meant to eat and be active during the day and fast and repair at night. When we eat at odd hours, like a big meal right before bed, we're going against our biology. Our metabolism is less efficient, our insulin sensitivity is worse, and our body is more likely to just store those calories as fat. The same exact meal can have a totally different effect on your body depending on the time of day you eat it. Okay, we've laid out all the mechanisms, all the saboteurs. Now it's time to look at the scientific case file. What does the evidence from long-term human studies actually tell us about weight regain?
This finding right here is frankly shocking. You really have to let this one sink in. When scientists track thousands of people for years and years, a very clear and very troubling pattern emerges. The people who intentionally go on diets, especially the ones who yo-yo, don't just fail to keep the weight off. On average, they end up gaining more weight over the long haul than the people who never dieted in the first place. Read that again. The very act of dieting is correlated with the exact outcome it's trying to prevent.
But how can we be sure it's the dieting itself? For that, we look at twin studies. By studying identical twins, you have a perfect control for genetics. And what these studies have shown is that if one twin becomes a dieter and the other does not, the dieting twin is significantly more likely to be heavier years down the road. This is incredibly powerful evidence. It suggests that dieting itself may be a cause of future weight gain, completely independent of your genetic makeup.
So let's put it all up on the evidence board. Let's summarize the case. You've got metabolic adaptations slowing your calorie burn. You've got a hormonal response that makes you hungrier and less satisfied. You have your body's set point actively defending your old weight. You have your brain driving you to overeat to find protein. You have thousands of years of evolutionary thrift making you an expert fat storer. And you have the inevitable behavioral rebound from restriction. When you see it all laid out like this, it's clear. This was never about willpower. You're not fighting a craving. You're fighting a biological siege on all fronts.
And we can't forget that psychological piece of the puzzle. It follows such a predictable, destructive pattern. It starts with severe restriction. That creates an overwhelming feeling of deprivation, which in turn causes your cravings to go through the roof. Eventually, your willpower breaks. It's what researchers call the what the hell effect, and it leads to rebound overeating. And because this is happening right when your metabolism is at its slowest, the weight comes back on with a vengeance, often pushing you past where you started and reinforcing that feeling of failure, which just sets you up for the next diet. And if all of that wasn't enough, here is one final, mind-blowing piece of evidence from the frontiers of science. It looks like our fat cells might have a kind of memory. It's called epigenetics. The idea is that even after you lose weight, your fat cells can retain a memory of being larger. This memory makes them incredibly good at sucking up energy and reinflating the moment a diet ends. Your very cells are primed and ready for a rapid rebound. It's an incredible mechanism that helps explain the yo-yo effect at a molecular level. So the evidence is in, the case is closed. The idea that this is just about calories and willpower is officially debunked. Your body fights back with a complex, powerful, and redundant set of defenses. So that brings us to our final section, beyond the calorie count. What's the verdict, and how do we find a new path forward? So what do? Based on everything we've uncovered, a smarter path starts to emerge. First, we have to focus on the quality of food, not just the quantity. Nutrient-dense food tells your body it's safe. Second, prioritize protein. This satisfies that deep, primal hunger drive we talked about. Third, stop dieting and start building sustainable habits you can actually live with. Fourth, learn to listen to your body's signals of hunger and fullness instead of fighting them. And finally, change the goal. Stop chasing a number on the scale and start focusing on your overall metabolic health, your energy, your sleep, your mood. And really, this is the final verdict. The goal was never just to eat less. That was the great deception. The real goal, the only one that can work long-term, is to work with your body's complex biology, not against it. It's about sending your body signals of safety, nourishment, and consistency so that it never feels the need to turn on those powerful starvation defenses in the first place. Before we finish up, just one last reminder. Don't forget to like, share, and subscribe, and check out the links in the description if you're looking for a real estate agent in your market or you need life insurance. My team and I can help you anywhere nationwide. So I want to leave you with one final question to think about, a question that might just change everything. What if the goal was never weight loss? What if the real goal, the one that actually leads to long-term well-being, is building a robust, flexible, and resilient metabolism? What if the prize isn't being thin, but having true metabolic health? Now that is a goal worth pursuing.